They were forgotten. 402 Marines, surrounded, bleeding, calling for help that never came. Headquarters had already signed the report, all presumed dead, but one woman, Lieutenant Ava Hendrix, stared at the radar and saw a signal still blinking. They told her, "Stand down, do not fly." She answered, "Then you can court-martial me in hell." Alone, she started her helicopter, straight into a desert storm, without backup, without orders, because somewhere out there, 402 souls were waiting for someone who still believed they mattered, and that's where this story begins. I'm curious, where are you tuning in from today? If you're into powerful, true stories that stay with you, go ahead and subscribe. You'll fit right in here. The desert was burning gold under a merciless sun, and the radio hissed with silence. For 72 hours, the 402nd Marine Expeditionary Unit had been pinned down in the ravine, low on ammo, water, and hope. Every man stared toward the horizon, waiting for the rescue signal that never came. Captain Ray Donovan wiped the sweat from his face and looked up at the lifeless sky. "Command's not coming," he muttered. "We've been written off." Corporal Hayes swallowed hard. "Sir, that's impossible. They can. Donovan cut him off. "They already did." Miles away, inside the control tower at Al Raqqa Forward Base, Lieutenant Ava Hendrix sat frozen before her radar screen. Her headset buzzed with fragmented transmissions, static, interference, and a faint cry she could barely make out. 402, trapped, heavy fire, requesting airlift. "Please respond." Her fingers trembled. She checked the ops board again. Status, mission terminated. Reason, unit presumed Kia. Her throat tightened. She'd flown with those men before, shared jokes, missions, fears. Now, some bureaucrat had just decided they were gone. "Ma'am," said Sergeant Cole, her co-pilot, "orders are clear. We stand down." But Ava's eyes didn't leave the radar. Not while that signal's still blinking. Cole frowned. "If we take off now, it's direct insubordination. Court-martial, maybe worse." "Then they can court-martial me in hell," she said quietly, reaching for her flight helmet. Engines screamed to life against the wind, as Ava's helicopter, a dusty MH-60 Blackhawk, lifted off the ground like a rebel heartbeat against the silence of command. Every rotation of the rotor felt like defiance. The other pilots watched from the base, their eyes wide. Nobody moved to stop her. Nobody dared. "Lieutenant Hendrix, this is control." The radio crackled. "You are not authorized to depart. Return immediately." Ava kept her eyes on the horizon. "Copy that, control," she said calmly, then switched the channel off. Sergeant Cole shook his head. "You just killed your career." "If I don't go," she said, 402 men die for nothing." The desert stretched beneath them, endless dunes, wrecked convoys, faint smoke on the far edge of nowhere. Her instruments flickered. Sandstorms blurred the world into a storm of gold and blood. Visibility's dropping fast. Cole warned. "You sure this is the right direction?" Ava didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the faint signal pulsing on the screen, the heartbeat of the Marines who refused to die. Meanwhile, in the ravine below, Captain Donovan's voice cracked over the broken radio. Anyone copy? This is Captain Ray Donovan, of the 402nd. We're under fire, no medevac casualties." Heavy, he turned toward the medic kneeling over a wounded private. "We're out of morphine," the medic whispered. Donovan gritted his teeth. "Hold on, kid," he said, pressing his hand over the soldier's wound. "You're going home. You hear me? You're going home." Then, from somewhere in the sky, a distant thumping began, faint at first, then louder, like thunder rolling toward them. Corporal Hayes looked up. "Sir, is that?" Donovan's eyes widened. "Helicopter," he breathed. "But command called off rescue." "Who the hell?" The Blackhawk broke through the dust storm like a ghost, guns gleaming in the dying sun. And behind the stick, her jaw set firm, was Lieutenant Ava Hendrix, the pilot who refused to obey. Bullets cracked the air the moment Ava descended. Tracer rounds sliced across the sky, glowing red like falling meteors. The insurgents had spotted her, and they were ready. "Jesus, they've got anti-air," Cole yelled. "Then we stay low." Ava snapped real low. The Blackhawk dipped hard, rotor blades carving the dust like a scythe. Mortar shells burst around them, throwing fire and debris into the air. Inside the ravine, Marines dove for cover, but one man, Captain Donovan, stood tall in the chaos, waving a flare. "That's them," Ava shouted. 402nd, confirmed. She dropped the chopper into a combat hover, barely 10 feet off the ground. The side doors burst open, and ropes whipped out. "Go, go, go," Cole barked as the first rescue crew slid down. The scene below was carnage, broken trucks, scattered bodies, sand soaked dark with blood. The Marines had built makeshift barricades, from debris, holding the line with what ammo they had left. Lieutenant Donovan's voice came through the radio. "You shouldn't be here. Command called us dead." "Well," Ava said, gripping the controls tighter, "I'm here to prove them wrong." Then, a direct hit. A rocket slammed into the ground beside the chopper, the explosion rocking the aircraft sideways. "Warning, alarms," screamed. Smoke filled the cabin. Cole shouted over the noise. We're taking damage. Engine 2's hit. Ava steadied her breath. We're not leaving without them. Her hands moved with calm fury. Years of training turned into instinct. She banked the helicopter sideways, letting the gunners unleash a wall of suppressive fire. The desert lit up with chaos. Tracer fire, explosions, screaming wind, and in the center of it all, one woman holding a dying bird steady in the storm. The Black Hawk's left engine coughed black smoke as Ava fought to keep it steady. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit like angry stars. Engine 2 critical, Cole shouted, reroute fuel. We're not crashing today, Ava replied, voice sharp, steady. Below, the Marines were hauling the wounded toward the landing zone, what was left of it. Every second felt stolen from death itself. Move, move, Captain Donovan roared, carrying a soldier over his shoulder. We've got one bird, make it count. Rounds pinged off the armor plating. One of the gunners took a hit and fell back, blood streaking across the metal floor. Cole grabbed him by the vest, dragged him in, and slammed the door shut. We're overloaded, Cole yelled. Too many bodies, we'll never lift. Ava's jaw clenched. Then throw out everything that's not human. Ma'am, do IT. Cole tossed crates of ammo, gear, and even the side gun mount into the sandstorm. Inside, the Marines huddled together, eyes hollow, faces streaked with ash and fear. None of them spoke, they all knew they weren't supposed to be alive. Lieutenant Donovan said into her headset, his voice trembling. You disobeyed a direct order for us. Ava glanced through the cracked windshield at the desert burning below. No, she said softly, I disobeyed it for you. Then she pulled the throttle. The helicopter lurched upward, engines screaming in protest. It rose from the ravine like a wounded bird, dragging the weight of 402 souls behind it. Suddenly, a missile streaked across the sky. Ava saw it too late. The explosion ripped near the tail rotor, spinning the Black Hawk violently. Tail's gone. We're losing control, Cole shouted. Ava gripped the stick with both hands. Brace. Everyone, hold on. The desert horizon blurred into chaos, flame, sand, and darkness as the helicopter went down hard, disappearing in a storm of dust and silence. The world returned in fragment smoke, ringing ears, and the taste of dust in Ava's mouth. Her helmet was cracked, her arm numb, and the cabin around her lay twisted in the sand like a broken wing. The Black Hawk was down. Cole, she coughed. Status from behind the co-pilot's seat. Cole groaned, blood dripping from his forehead. Alive, most of us, but the birds, Ava, were on the ground. Through the shattered window, Ava saw the survivors' Marines crawling out of the wreckage, dragging the wounded, forming a perimeter even though they could barely stand. The desert was quiet for a moment, too quiet. Then gunfire echoed again, closer this time. They're coming, Donovan said grimly, loading the last full magazine from his belt. We can't hold this position. Ava forced herself up, pain stabbing through her ribs. We can, and we will, until backup arrives. Backup, Cole barked. Command doesn't even know we're alive. Ava stared at him, eyes fierce. Then we'll make them know. She limped to the radio, sparks flickering from the destroyed panel. Most of the system was dead, but one channel, the emergency beacon, still blinked faintly red. Come on, she whispered, twisting the dial. Just one signal static filled the air. Then a faint response. This is Al Raqqa command. Identify. Ava nearly collapsed from relief. Lieutenant Ava Hendrix, downed Black Hawk. We have 402 Marines alive. We need extraction. Now, there was a long silence. Then came the cold reply. Lieutenant Hendrix, your mission was unauthorized. Extraction denied. Every head turned toward her. Even the wounded stopped breathing for a second. Ava's expression hardened. She looked around at the men, bloodied, exhausted, but alive because she refused to obey. She reached down, ripped off her headset, and said into the open mic, then I'm authorizing it myself. They held the line for hours. Ava directed fire, organized defense, even carried ammo, despite her injuries. When the last of the ammo ran out, she pulled out a flare and fired it into the burning sky, a bright streak of rebellion against every rule that had abandoned them. And then, in the distance, the sound of rotors. 1, then 2, then 5. Other choppers were coming for them. Donovan looked at her, tears in his dust-covered eyes. You did it, ma'am. You brought them back. Ava smiled faintly, blood staining her lips. No, we did. The rescue birds landed, kicking up storms of sand. As medics rushed out, Ava finally sat down, exhaustion overtaking her. Above, the sunrise broke across the desert, painting the wreckage in gold. It wasn't victory, it was survival. But for the 402 Marines who lived, she was no longer just a pilot. She was the reason the dead came home. Thanks for being here till the end. I know there are a million things you could be watching, so the fact that you chose to stay means more than you think. If this story touched you, let me know down below. I read every single comment myself.